Wednesdays with Will. I'm Caroline Norton. Let's get started. So far in our Wednesdays with Will experience, we have talked about William Shakespeare as a playwright, as an actor, and as a poet. But what we haven't discussed is Shakespeare as a person. We've only talked about him within the context of his work. So we're going to talk about Shakespeare, the human being, today. A fun fact about William Shakespeare is that there's no record of his birth. He never got a birth certificate, or at least we never saw it, so we don't know the exact day that Shakespeare was born. What we do know is that he was baptized on April 26th, 1564. And back in those days, it was customary to baptize your child within the first 3 days of them being born. So, we could estimate that Shakespeare was born on April 23rd, 1564 in Stratford-upon-Avon, England. Now, Shakespeare was not an only child. He actually had 7 brothers and sisters. That's a lot of siblings. I have 2 brothers and sometimes I feel like that's way too much. So he must have been very entertained as a kid. Another thing that we don't have records of is Shakespeare's childhood education. There are no records that state if Shakespeare went to school, and if he did, then where. But historians believe that Shakespeare went to school at the King's School in Stratford, England, where he lived, and that there he learned how to read and write, and he read all of the classics. Then, when he was 18, Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway. Not to be confused with the actor Anne Hathaway, unless of course time travel exists and she's the same person. But that's a discussion for another day. With Anne Hathaway, Shakespeare had a child named Susanna, and then 2 years later had twins named Hamnet and Judith, though Hamnet unfortunately died at a very young age due to health concerns. Now, after Shakespeare's twins were born, 7 years go by without any records of Shakespeare's existence at all. And these are known as the lost years. Some people think that Shakespeare went into hiding at this time. Others think that he became a teacher for a short period of time. But the reality is that we may never know what happened in Shakespeare's life between 1585 and 1591. But what we do know is that in 1592, William Shakespeare was back on the scene. He was working with an acting company called the Lord Chamberlain's Men, which was later renamed to the King's Men, and they were stationed in London, England. Then by 1597, Shakespeare had already written 15 of his 37 plays. So he was super busy, and he was really successful. Successful enough to buy the second largest house in Stratford-upon-Avon for his family to live in while he was away. In 1599, Shakespeare and a few of his buddies got together and they built the Globe Theatre. Now, you've probably heard of this theater before. It's super famous, and it was so beloved by the people of London that it was destroyed twice and it was rebuilt every time, and it still stands today. You can go to London, England, and you can see one of Shakespeare's plays being performed at the Globe Theatre. How cool is that? Now, for the rest of his life, Shakespeare wrote like his life depended on it. He penned 37 plays and 154 sonnets that we know of. The true total could be so much higher, but these are the only ones that we actually have record of. And he wrote all the way up to his death on April 23rd, 1616, which, ironically, was his 52nd birthday. Even though Shakespeare died over 400 years ago, his plays are still being performed and read all over the world today. His legacy lives on. Basically, what we've just done is we've gone through a biography of William Shakespeare's life. So I thought a fun activity for you to do today will be to write your own short biography of someone that you admire. Maybe it's your favorite author or actor or athlete. somebody that you look up to or want to know more about. Have fun reading about their lives. Look up photos of them from their past to their present, and write down a short biography of that person to share. That's about all the time that we have for today. I will see you next week, but until then, stay safe and be kind. Bye!